what sticks out to you?
Yeah, look, we came in above estimates on most of the product categories, although we do recognize that it was the second quarter in a row that we saw a year-on-year decline in sales across those categories, apart from services, which comes in below estimates. So a bit of a mixed bag relative to what we were expecting. In his statement, Tim Cook acknowledges that there is an ongoing challenging macro environment, but at the same time, the installed user base globally for Apple has reached an all-time high. This is a company, Apple, that doesn't say a lot, Scarlett, in its earnings release or statements, so we'll wait for the call in that sense. But again, we all thought a $90 billion share buyback additional buyback would come. It's there, continuing to return value to shareholders.
Ed, give us a little bit of context here in terms of the mindset of investors heading into this earnings report, because Meta and Microsoft had some blowout numbers, and I feel like that might have raised the bar here for people heading into Apple's release.
Yeah, well, I think what's so interesting is here, like EPS, $1.52, again, above estimates. They are able to deliver in a challenging environment. The macro or the micro commentary that we want is why they were able to improve those results. Is it supply chain related? This is the fiscal second quarter, but the first 3 months of this year, which would give us a better sense into how iPhones were selling if those supply chain snags that happened in the period ending December have improved. Tim Cook always says on the call, right, I'm not an economist, but hopefully we'll get some readout in how markets around the world are improving from the consumer pressure kind of a standpoint.
Right. I like how he says I'm not an economist, so you can't hold him to anything he says, yet people read so much into Apple's results. And I wonder to what extent Qualcomm's numbers yesterday gave us any kind of read-through to what Apple might be experiencing.
Yeah. It's a really hard one to read. So you're right that Qualcomm's CFO did make a reference to their modem-only customer, which is kind of a wink-wink Apple. But the inference that we drew is that Apple ordered those modems in bulk earlier in the financial year. What we worry about with Qualcomm is that actually the recovery in smartphone broadly is being delayed even further out than we thought, perhaps the end of this year. Apple's interesting because the iPhone sits right at the higher end of that market, which has, throughout this whole period, shown more resiliency. The problem has been the ability to supply because of supply chain snags.